Hey there, welcome. This is The James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Let's go. Well, I don't know if you remember the documentary from the late 80s, RoboCop, but it was a pretty scary glimpse of what happens when you have too much intersection between technology and the classic but human profession of law enforcement. And now we have something that even RoboCop could not have dreamed of. We have AI. So AI being intertwined with law enforcement may be scary. It also may be inevitable. Let's talk about this with my next guest, Lance LaRusso from the Blue Line Lawyer Institute. Welcome to the James Show. How are they talking about using artificial intelligence to help real cops enforce the law?
One of the ways they're talking about using it, and I appreciate you having me, just has to do with crunching tremendous amounts of data, which is what AI is very good at. Now, it's not without faults. We have a process called Artifact that still requires humans to go back through and see if the AI essentially and maybe inartfully made something up, things that just didn't exist in there. But let's say you have a financial crimes case with tens of thousands of documents. AI can assist you in going through there and looking for certain items, certain information. We also use AI to search for tags. So if you're driving down the interstate as a law enforcement officer, there's no way you can physically, mentally search all the tags on the interstate. But if we have a kidnapping victim and we have information on the tag, the computer is constantly scanning and will point out, hey, the car's over there.
So I imagine there may be some privacy concerns with some of these programs.
Well, there's a lot of privacy concerns, but basically what's been done to make it easier, and as a friend of mine said, we use in law enforcement, we use guardrails, and those guardrails not only keep you from going off the cliff, but they also keep you back on the path that you're supposed to be. So it's generally those license plate readers are not storing the data. So they're not saying, hey, Bob was at this time and place. It's just looking very, very rapidly through the tags to see if there is any information that was flagged prior, like a stolen vehicle, an Amber Alert, a missing elderly person who's driven off and nobody can find them.
Well, the use of AI to go through documents, I don't think that scares hardly anybody, but you just mentioned one use in the field of reading tags. I think that's where a lot of the concern comes from. Is there any other uses they have going on already out in the field?
Facial recognition is probably another way. And like I said, a lot of people get very wrap around the axle around these things until, and I've seen this with departments, they sit down and explain to people exactly how the data works, and then they understand. And there's spot checks that people do to make sure they're not storing data, for example. But, when you're looking at just the amount of officers that are not on the street because of the loss of officers, the lack of recruiting, law enforcement is going to use tools that are available to them to have them, first of all, be more efficient, and second, to perform their jobs when there's less officers on the street.
Lance, what's that movie? Is it called 21, about the card counters going to Vegas and the security was being replaced by AI? When I saw that, the casinos, the private sector sort of leading in the facial recognition and seeing if people are doing something shady, that was one of the first times I really thought, oh, well, this is easily going to cross over into law enforcement. Is there some way facial recognition is actually keeping track of people and sort of having a similar function outside of the casino?
No, of course it is. I mean, if you fly right now, the Real ID program takes a picture of you. We've seen that with several different biometric programs that have been available for a long time, and matching up your ID with your picture. So the fact that you have a picture that says, you're a white male with brown hair that looks about to be 35 or 36 years old, that's on your driver's license. That picture that's taken, the facial recognition can determine whether that's actually the person in the photograph or whether it's just a close approximation and somebody's using it to commit some sort of fraud.
Well, I've accepted that technology is moving forward, artificial intelligence and robots and whatnot, and this is eventually going to be part of the law enforcement apparatus. I just want to ask you, Lance, is it time to start researching how to disable those robot dogs?
I don't know. I guess you feed them batteries at the end of every shift. The Isaac Asimov, when I was a kid, I used to read that stuff. There are robots that are being used. They're processing information. There are cameras that are being used on electronic devices that they're self-mobile. They can patrol areas. Drones also are being used. And I think that when people have concerns about that, they need to reach out to their departments. When I first heard about this scare about AI replacing law enforcement, it's not going to replace law enforcement. When you look at the Fourth Amendment and the probable cause requirement for a search warrant or an arrest warrant, that probable cause affidavit has to be before a neutral and detached magistrate, a person, by a law enforcement officer who's swearing under oath. So machines are not going to be used for those. If we're going to use AI, maybe we should start crunching the data on how defund the police has been the fastest implemented failed social policy in history, and just how many people are being released without a bond and how quickly and often they're reoffending.
Get them, Lance. Yeah, generally speaking, though, I'm in favor of technology helping out police departments. I think about how, the O.J. chase, we were talking about that last week. In any town in America basically can afford a drone to throw up there and have almost the same effect of a helicopter doing the car chase. Now, you don't have to, because helicopters are expensive. Pilots are expensive. Helicopter fuel's expensive. That drone, not so much, So I think it helps more than harms. What do you think, Lance?
Yeah, without a doubt, the technology so far as the drones has really come a long way. I mean, and I've had officers that were personally saved by being able to find someone in the woods before they were able to ambush an officer. And Lord knows right now we're having so many officers ambushed in the line of duty, shot in the line of duty. It's just out of control, the dangers that they're facing on a regular basis. So we are seeing situations where the technology like drones, like cameras, are being used to enhance the officers' not only investigations, but also to keep them safe.
All right. Thank you very much, Lance LaRusso. You can check him out. He's with the Blue Line Lawyer Institute, also author of When Cops Kill and Blue News. Thanks for being on the James Show, Lance.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Are you scared, or do you have some concerns about technology and RoboCop and the UN robot dogs? And, when you're trying to escape the 15-minute city during the next electromagnetic pulse, 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. This is the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3.